Good morning. My name is Sam. I am an alcoholic and I'm also a son of recovery. Let's start out with the Serenity Prayer. Good and gracious God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So, I am still reading through the AA book 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, and I'm on Tradition 9. AA, as such, ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. When Tradition 9 was first written, it said that Alcoholics Anonymous needs the least possible organization. In the years since then, we have changed our minds about that. Today, we are able to say with assurance that Alcoholics Anonymous, AA as a whole, should never be organized at all. Then, in seeming contradiction, we proceed to create special service boards and committees which in themselves are organized. How, then, can we have an unorganized movement which can and does create a service organization for itself? Scanning this puzzler, people say, what do they mean? No organization. Let's see. Did anyone ever hear of a nation, a church, a political party, even a benevolent association that had no membership rules? Did anyone ever hear of a society which couldn't somehow discipline its members and enforce obedience to necessary rules and regulations? Doesn't nearly every society on earth give authority to some of its members to impose obedience upon the rest and to punish or expel offenders? Therefore, every nation, in fact every form of society, has to be a government administered by human beings. Power to direct or govern is the essence of organization everywhere. Yes, yet Alcoholics Anonymous is an exception. It does not conform to this pattern. Neither its General Service Conference, its Foundation Board, nor the humblest group committee can issue a single directive to an AA member and make it stick, let alone mete out any punishment. We've tried it lots of times, but utter failure is always the result. Groups have tried to expel members, but the banished have come back to sit in the meeting place saying, "This is life for us. You can't keep us out." Committees have instructed many in AA to stop working on a chronic backslider, only to be told, how I do my 12-step work is my business. Who are you to judge? This doesn't mean an AA won't take advice or suggestions from more experienced members, but he surely won't take orders. Who is more unpopular than the old-time AA, full of wisdom, who moves to another area and tries to tell the group there how to run its business? He and all like him who view with alarm for the good of AA, meet the most stubborn resistance or worse, laughter. You might think AA's headquarters in New York would be an exception. Surely the people there would have to have some authority. But long ago, trustees and staff members alike found they could do no more than make suggestions, and very mild ones at that. They even had to coin a couple of sentences which still go into half the letters they write. Of course, you are at perfect liberty to handle this matter any way you please. But the majority experience in AA does seem to suggest now that attitude is far removed from central government, isn't it? We recognize that alcoholics can't be dictated to individually or collectively. At this juncture, we can hear a churchman exclaim, "They are making disobedience a virtue." He is joined by a psychiatrist who says, "Defiant brats, they won't grow up and conform to social usage." The man in the street says, "I don't understand it. They must be nuts." But all these observers have overlooked something unique in Alcoholics Anonymous. Unless each AA member follows to the best of his ability our suggested 12 steps to recovery, he almost certainly signs his own death warrant. His drunkenness and disillusion are not penalties inflicted by people in authority. They result from his personal disobedience to spiritual principles. The same stern threat applies to the group itself. Unless there is approximate conformity to AA's 12 traditions, the group, too, can deteriorate and die. So we of AA do obey spiritual principles, first because we must, and ultimately because we love the kind of life such obedience brings. Great suffering and great love are AA's disciplinarians. We need no others. It is clear now that we ought never to name boards to govern us, but it is equally clear that we shall always need to authorize workers to serve us. It is the difference between the spirit of vested authority and the spirit of service, two concepts which are sometimes poles apart. It is in this spirit of service that we elect the AA group's informal rotating committee, the intergroup association for the area, and the general service conferences of Alcoholics Anonymous for AA as a whole. Even our foundation, once an independent board, is today directly accountable to our fellowship. Its trustees are the caretakers and expediters of our world services. Just as in the aim of each AA member is personal sobriety, the aim of our services is to bring sobriety within reach of all who want it. If nobody does the group's chores, if the area's telephone rings unanswered, if we do not reply to our mail, then AA, as we know it, would stop. Our communications lines with those who need our help would be broken. AA has to function, but at the same time, it must avoid those dangers of great wealth, prestige, and entrenched power which necessarily tempt other societies. Though Tradition 9 at first seems to deal with a purely practical matter, in its actual operation, it discloses a society without organization, animated only by the spirit of service, a true fellowship. I feel like this really does go pretty hand in hand with 8 remaining non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. Definitely goes into AA as such will never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. So we elect people to help us run our meetings and our houses, and so that paperwork can get turned in, so that our services are available to anyone who may need it. And by paperwork turned in, I mean a lot of meetings will turn paperwork into the local area chapters, and then that also to the General Assembly or General Service Conference and the Foundation. It's just purely on numbers, on how many people are coming every week and what's going on. Because they want to be able to serve the best that they can. So I love here how they talk about it's we're electing people to serve us, and sometimes I wish we could remember that in our own politics outside of here. Is remembering we're electing people who are going to serve us and make sure that the healing that we have had can continue to happen and can continue to happen for others. So that is Tradition 9. We'll move on to Tradition 10 next week. So, as always, or tomorrow, sorry. My moya brain. So, tomorrow we'll move on to Tradition 10. And for today, we will have a small morning prayer. Good morning, God. You usher in another day, all nice and freshly new. Here I come again, dear Lord. Please renew me too. Forgive the many errors that I made yesterday, and let me come again, dear Lord, to walk in your own way. But God, you know I cannot do it on my own. Please take my hand and hold it tight, for I cannot walk alone. And always remember that you are never walking alone. So with that, if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts, please leave them. And as always, blessings.